I'm Don Smith, Executive Director of the West Virginia Press Association. Today, I'm speaking with Gaylene Miller, State Director for AARP West Virginia, and Jane Marks, State President for AARP West Virginia. Thank you for being with me today.
Good afternoon.
We are going to talk today about Vote Safe 2020, AARP's campaign to make sure that your members' voices are heard in the upcoming general election. It's been a challenging time this year, both in the primary and through the summer, and there are safety concerns and other issues. And AARP has an effort to make sure that your people get out and that their votes are cast and their voices heard. Gaylene, can you tell us a little bit about what's going on?
Sure, Don. Thanks for the opportunity. We have heard from our members that they want to vote and they want to vote safely and they want options when they vote. And so we're pleased to be able to let folks know how to vote and when to vote and those important dates and deadlines. Absentee ballot applications are available now. Ballots themselves won't be sent until mid-September, but there will be early voting. And of course, folks can vote in person on November 3rd.
Very good. So the background of your program then, the backbone is going to be educational, letting people know their options, letting people know what's going on and how to proceed, correct?
That is correct. We want folks to know what to expect and when to expect it. Okay,
great. Jane, what's the reasoning behind the campaign? Was there the primary election went off pretty well, but certainly there were safety concerns, and that's only gotten worse, I think, over the summer. What prompted this effort, do you think?
Well, first of all, Don, we've realized, and we want the candidates to realize, that they really need to listen to our voters, those aged 50 plus, if they expect to be elected. And certainly, as you said, COVID has not gone away. It is still here with us. Many of our members are of the age of greater vulnerability to COVID-19. And so they not only want to make their voices heard, make their issues known, but also be able to do it safely.
Now, we've had some time since the primary. Have you had feedback from your members and your volunteers around the state about how the primary went and how they felt safer, or that if they liked the absentee ballot process or the early voting process?
Yeah, we've heard from, those out there who are involved with us that, yes, that it worked well. They were pleased with it. I know I voted absentee and I tracked my ballot and it came and it got where it was supposed to go. And most of those we have talked with thought that things went well in the primary election.
Okay. And I should point out that we are doing this interview by Zoom. We are not in a room together. We're not even in the studio spread out. We're being as safe as we can with this. That said, it makes it all the more difficult for politicians to spread their message, but also for you, getting word out to your members. Gaylene, how do you plan to get this information out to your members and to voters in West Virginia?
Well, we're going to use every communication vehicle available to us. So whether that is social media platforms, whether it's the good old-fashioned telephone town hall, or newspapers, for example, would be another way, along with radio and possibly some television. So again, we want folks to know what the options are and then be able to exercise their right to vote safely.
Very good. And I think that's one of the things about West Virginia. We have different areas of the state. You have to be able to use all the options because different areas of the state, some things are more effective than others, and some things, unfortunately, aren't that effective in certain parts, and you want to reach everybody. Now, there is a slight change since the primary. In the primary, every voter received in the mail a card that they could request their absentee ballot. Now, as I understand, in the general, that's going to be slightly different, with the exception of, I think, 2 counties right now, but there could be more maybe later. They will mail them out. Those 2 will mail out a card to every registered voter to apply, but the rest will either have to go online to the Secretary of State's website and request an absentee ballot, or call the Secretary of State, or call their county clerk. Is that your understanding, and are you addressing those types of concerns in your campaign?
So yes, that's my understanding. I called my county clerk, and it was a very good experience. I got my absentee ballot application within a couple of days, and included with it was a self-addressed stamped envelope for me to return that application. As I mentioned earlier, though, the ballots won't be available until mid-September.
Right.
I think others, and maybe you or Jane, have gone online, and you should talk about that experience.
Yes,
Jane,
I
have you
did.
gotten online? Go ahead, please.
Yes, I did to govotewv.com. That's where I went, and I put in my information and requested an absentee ballot. And then later I got an email saying that my request had been received and that it was in process. And I believe here in Kanawha County, the first day that absentee ballots will start to be sent out is September 17th. So I'm going to be watching and waiting.
All right. And I also went online to the site and did it, and I thought it was fairly simple, not too complicated, and we have good internet service here in Kanawha County, as you pointed out. My mother, who's in the Northern Panhandle, has pretty good internet service, but she's really not comfortable doing that. And I think, and she actually called and followed Gaylene's approach, and they're mailing her that, and we all know that it'll be in mid-September when we get the ballots, but she was able to apply for that without going online and entering information on a computer that made her nervous doing that, which I think is great. And I've got other relatives that will be in line either to vote early or on election day because that's the way they want to do it. Gaylene, so you guys are educating everybody on all three of those options, correct?
That is correct, because again, listening to our members, they want options to vote, and they want to be able to make their voice heard, but to do it safely. And so again, I think folks are going to make those choices as we get closer to the election day.
And I think one of the things we need to point out too is that if you would request a ballot by mail and then decide to go in person to vote, you need to take that ballot with you. And then present that, and your vote will be counted that way. So you can change your mind after you request the ballot. That's correct.
And if by chance you forget to take that absentee ballot with you, you can vote a provisional ballot.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. I know that, and Jane brought up earlier in our conversation, that candidates are having a difficult time getting out to campaign because of the restrictions of COVID, but they really need to hear what the voters are talking about. And I know that you're very active with your membership on issues. Jane, what are the issues that you're really talking to politicians and members about right now?
Well, the issues are actually things that our members tell us that they're most interested in, and those issues are primarily financial security, like Social Security and Medicare. It's the cost of prescription drugs. They're a bit concerned about the United States Postal Service. Those are key issues for our members. And of course, here in West Virginia, as you've already mentioned, we're concerned about the whole issue of internet connection and broadband. Things like telemedicine have become crucial during this time of COVID-19. So those are some local issues that we're very interested in, but those are the top ones.
And I know that you guys have conducted some tele-town halls to get people to be able to express information and hear information. And Gaylene, you do a newsletter on Sundays that goes out. So you're really trying to get the information out as much as possible.
That's exactly right. Again, we're going to use every communication vehicle available to us because, again, information is power.
So voters can certainly visit Secretary of State's website. They can call their county clerk. They can watch for information from AARP West Virginia and newspapers, on the radio, online, all the traditional and every media option that you have to get the word out, just so that people can make their vote heard and vote safely in 2020.
Exactly, Don. In fact, we have a specific website. It's aarp.org/election2020. And the wonderful thing about that website is there's a list of states, and you click on the state. And so, of course, we click on West Virginia, and it tells us the process in these key dates, the things we just talked about. You can even click on Idaho or California. If you have relatives who live in another part of the country, you can click on that state and find out their process as well. So it's one more way to find out exactly what the protocols, the procedures, the important dates are, because we want everyone's voice to be heard.
And that really is
Exactly.
helpful.
And
Go ahead, Gaylene.
Don, I'll just tell you that our October bulletin issue will also include a full page feature on the West Virginia rules and regulations for voting in the general election cycle.
Right. And that website that Jane mentioned is handy because if you have a relative that's out of state and you want to help them understand whether it's maybe an older relative or maybe there's a relative in another state that wants to help you, you can see the same information at the same time. I'll also say that the West Virginia Press Association has our reporter Lexi Browning do an article. She's doing an article now with the Secretary of State's office on the process, and that'll be out. And this video will be posted on our website and shared with our papers. So if you want a refresher, you can come back. It seems like getting information out in West Virginia, there are more options than ever, and that's a great thing. Gaylene, Jane, I want to thank you for your time today. And again, make your voice heard. Vote in 2020 and vote safely.
Thank you, Don.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you.